Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. This video is brought to you by the good people who support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Endless, Flat Earth Sage, Goldie McKiernan, Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Canna Bear, Fiber Oats, Rob H, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Congratulations, man.
Cheers, George. Cost me a bleeding fortune, I know that.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah, father of the bride, always.
And then, like I said yesterday, with all this, I thought I got away with the energy hike. Like I said, I was paying like £130 a month for my gas and electric, and then that just shot up to £400 now. They're trying to force a smart meter on me, which I didn't really want to go down the line of a smart meter, but they're trying to force me into that because they're guaranteeing that the price will come down if I do so. So bills have gone through the roof like everybody else's at the moment.
Yeah, I was explaining the situation here to QE yesterday, explaining that my electricity bill's actually now higher than my mortgage. So I was already paying an astronomically high amount for electricity prior to all this nonsense. So obviously the more you're using, the worse it gets when it increases. So
It's fucking ludicrous, isn't it? Absolutely ludicrous.
right. Not a great deal there.
I mean, I don't know how some people are going to. I mean, I'm just about lucky and managing, and I'm just doing a little bit of extra overtime and doing a few little extra jobs here and there to manage. But there's going to be some people who are just going to be homeless, and I don't know what's going to happen to some people.
Right. Well, in that aspect, I mean, not that it even covers my electricity bill, but I introduced today's show as being brought to you by the good people of Patreon. But, they're the people keeping the lights on, essentially, because they're paying me repetitively. So that's, like, what keeps the show going. It keeps the bills paid. Like I say, like everybody, so I don't tend to whine about it. I'm not saying you're whining about it. I do whine about it personally to other people, or at the very least I explained it to QE yesterday. And in terms of my own issues in that regard, I just downplayed it and explained the situation to it, because everyone's in the same boat in this country, aren't they? So going to be a lot of people getting bailiffs sent round to them. I've already started seeing flyers and posters suggesting how to pay your bills, let's just say. And yeah, those people will end up just having bailiffs sent round. Sad, really.
Yeah, people need to start finding alternatives. Get out of the grid system.
Yep. A lot of people are going to turn to crime. I'll tell you that now. Crime will go through the roof.
Yes, and following that, there will be riots, potentially. I tried to describe this, in my lifetime, the only time I can remember anything similar to this was when I was incredibly young and the poll tax was introduced. So you're undoubtedly old enough to remember that one deck.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I could think of to compare it to. Could you think of anything else? Probably, maybe before my time you could, but certainly in my lifetime, since the 80s. As I was born in 1980, is the suggestion the channel should give them away in that regard. But yeah, in my lifetime, that's the only thing I can remember.
It's like they force you into this situation to bring a revolution on and riots and protests. I mean, it's like I don't know. The people are saying they're trying to get rid of this system, aren't they, and bring a new system in, and this is the way they're doing it. But it's just going to it's going to be a hard slog for whatever they've got planned and in place. It's going to be a hard, sad slog for a lot of people.
One day, the world needs a revolution.
Well, another reason why I'm keen to, thank my supporters, because of the type of subject that's covered here, there's a high level of passion that's associated to it. So it tends not to be the case that people are supporting because they're like, oh, thank you so much for helping me build a computer. I want to support your channel. It's not like that. People want to support me directly for what I'm doing, even though it doesn't necessarily have a physical impact on their life. It has a mental impact that they want to see grow. Therefore, the type of support I get doesn't necessarily dry up when times get tough. I don't know why that is. Maybe people are more inclined to look at stuff like this when times are tough. I don't know. But certainly in the past 7 years of doing this or whatever, I've been doing it for full time. When things happen like YouTube suppression, or we no longer get promoted, we're considered fringe now. Well, the support went up for me. People are like, check it out. So yeah, my support grew, which was weird. But I mean, maybe that won't happen if people are forced into abject poverty. I'm pretty sure the support for me will dwindle. You know what I mean? But so far, not the case. But who knows what the future will bring.
Well, it's a fantastic channel that you have, Nathan, and the panel that you've got are also fantastic, and the knowledge and everything that you provide. People,
value.
I'm not saying rely on it, but
value is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, people value that, and it's good to have that knowledge and people of the same, sort of in the same frame of mind, and that's why they support you, because it's as I say, it's fantastic channel, fantastic panel.
Although I'm rehashing something I said a couple of weeks ago. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jorge.
No, just adding, very educational, I think is the word.
It's a kind of karmic thing when you think of all the vitriol that we suffer. You think, oh, right, okay, so that is definitely contrasted by the overwhelming support. I mean, I say overwhelming support. I'm still in the red like everyone else in the UK, but I'm not going to moan about that. I'd rather laugh about it, just because in a certain way I feel a certain solidarity with the rest of the people in the country over it. I don't know about you, One Deck, as we're on the subject. But yeah, it's nice to have a contrasting support for all of the vitriol that we suffer. Obviously not as proud standing in solidarity Brit then, Mondek. Maybe he didn't hear me.
Nathan, I think everybody's in the red. I think in the world.
Sorry, Nathan, I just lost. I'm driving. I'm breaking up.
That's right. Everyone's in the same boat, you're saying, across the world, Neil?
Yeah, I think unless you're one of the elites, everybody's in the red.
I don't know. I don't know if that's true.
It's more and more laughable, this whole nonsense. I mean, yesterday I came across a news channel that were reporting a French scientist claimed to have taken a picture with a Hubble telescope of a newborn star. This picture was published, but then they realized it was just a slice of chorizo. So they had a circle of chorizo with a black background, and he said it was a joke, but it was too late. It was out there already. They're playing with these games, and people are falling for it.
Yeah, but look at the so-called NASA. Look at the money they've taken off people. Just stop all that bullshit space exploration, which there's no space. I know that. But look at the money we could use for the planet Earth and the problems we've got. It's obviously resolvable. But
planet Earth.
for some reason, people don't want to do it.
Yes, he's describing something in the third person in regards to how the information is disseminated. Try and pay attention. He doesn't have to
I'm only
contextualize.
kidding. But listen, my sister-in-law said NASA hasn't been funded for the last 25 years. Is that true?
I couldn't really discern what you were saying. Sorry.
My sister-in-law, as we were, talking to her about flat Earth, we got into NASA. She said that's not true. NASA hasn't been funded by our tax dollars for the last 25 years.
NASA hasn't been budgeted by tax dollars for the last 25. Where do you think they're making their money?
That's what I said. Then where are they getting their money from?
Okay. So what was the point in this, Neil? Sorry, I'm a bit lost for words. Where are we going with
Information
that?
that's coming from people. This guy had a phony picture. My sister-in-law's talking like they're not getting money from taxes. All the information you're getting is bullshit. That's where it's going. Keep up, Nathan.
You're saying the information that people get given is that they're not having their tax dollars spent on going to outer space. So they're just lied to on multiple fronts, is your point?
Correct.
Okay,
Getting
fine.
bullshitted across the board.
Okay.
But she's a normie. And normies get fed from the telly, and that's what they believe.
Well, there's an easy out, which is you just say that it's an image, a representation, and an interpretation, and then you're fine.
Oh yeah, they got the NOSCA for it. NASA department, that is.
Well, that comment that I made is a meta-analysis of what's going on now in the flat Earth arena, being between ether, photons, waves, particles, materialism, immaterialism. When you redefine words and you call things images, representations, frameworks, et cetera, it leads to linguistical problems where you end up reifying concepts, even though you're accusing other people of reifying concepts. You make logical blunders. You just rename things and think you've actually identified something new. It's problematic. Just changing language doesn't change reality. It just changes people's impression of reality.
Sounds like Wixit.
That was poetry. Spot on. Couldn't have summed it up more concisely or succinctly better myself.
It's worse than that.
Dun, dun, dun. Go ahead, QE.
What's up, man? Where a go for tomorrow?
Yeah, Brian got in touch. I was going to wait to discuss it in the live show because obviously it turns into a plug then. But yes, he did contact me. So the audience is informed. Brian and I will be having a show tonight. That's Thursday. If you want to keep track of what the actual day is. And tomorrow will be a Bullbuster special, I assume the title will be.
We'll just leave the title up in the air for right now. Not discuss any particulars. And by the way, having a show tonight, the friggin' football season opens tonight.
And?
Could have picked another day.
Why?
Because, let me say this one more time.
Yeah, I heard the first time, football season. Who cares?
I do.
Dude.
What? Who's laughing?
Well, look, it's hilarious because one, you don't care, but two, other people are going to say, I've busted QE as a satanic agendist because he watches the idolatrous football season. The point is, you can't make anyone happy. So you just got to make yourself happy and have a clear conscience before God, and you're good.
Okay, JLB does a good job of summarising it, which is a surprising part of where QE and JLB actually parallel in their opinions, which is to say, while you might appreciate, I don't know if QE might even not think this, but while you might appreciate the nonsense that is sports, right? It's a mindless entertainment, and, what's the word? Like a... When you've got an...
Coming down.
I've forgotten what... Shameless indulgence. I've forgotten the term. Like a forbidden pleasure that you have.
That's a phrase, not a term.
Say again?
It's a phrase, not a term.
Thank you for the correction. I remember one of my first memories of school would be that you'd ask this specific teacher, I can't remember her name, but I remember what she used to do. You'd ask her something very specific, and she'd correct your grammar, but not answer the question.
My sister was like that, where she has English major, and oh boy, it was business was booming in the household. So yeah, I can relate to that. I'm not always that bad. I do like to, however, pay attention to detail. So please excuse me for that.
Pleasure.
So we got lost track completely of the how worse it gets. That's off to the wayside after the drama, or dramatic effect has been leveraged.
Sorry.
No, that was a segue. That was your key to say, yeah, it gets worse because.
It gets worse because they'll see it themselves tomorrow. That didn't make any sense, but
Hey,
leave it at that.
Go on, Alberiqua.
I'm sorry.
I've been offering these ballers £500 if they can send me a picture out of any celestial navigation book or document that shows a curved elevation angle. And if they can't, they owe me £500. No one sent me one yet because he's not one in any of the books or manuals. They'll all have they might have a dingleberry knocking about or something, but they've all got straight baselines, and they can't show me anything from a manual or a book with a curved baseline because there's none there.
You can use that argument for almost anything. Yesterday, QE leveraged that argument for a scheduling issue.
I'll tell you what.
I'm not even joking. That's absolutely true. During a scheduling issue, QE leveraged that argument. I'm not even joking.
All right, relax. I'll tell you, but sometimes your memory is shockingly accurate. Other times,
like now, you're just making shit up. I'm not though.
No, this time you're correct. You're right. I did leverage that argument, didn't I?
For a scheduling issue, yeah.
Yep.
There's no.
I had a lot of adrenaline pumping around me yesterday when we had that conversation. I've got to be honest. Dealing with plumbing.
I've got the navigation book, and let's show me the fucking curve, pal.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? Where's an elevation angle? The clue is in the title. It's like one of the housekeeping. It is one of the housekeeping questions because the clue is in the question, isn't it? How do you get an elevation angle from a curve?
Got one.
Dude, you're roboting real bad. So whoever's talking, you need to jump out and jump back in again.
It's one deck. He's on the road.
Oh.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm in and out. I'm on the road.
In and out,
That's
on the road,
for us.
Here and there. Going to see a man about a dog. You know, usual stuff.
Kicking and a diving, bobbing and a weaving.
So we'll plug both. We'll plug Brian's show today when we go live eventually, 5 minutes. and we'll plug your show on Friday, Kiwi.
Sorry, I'm talking with my significant other.
Far more important. Don't worry about it.
Why don't you get a book together, Nathan?
A book? Can I
Sell
hardly
a book.
read?
The Eric Debays and all that have done it, haven't they? The 200. Maybe you could put something together off the show, like. Sure, people will be buy into it, mate. Bit of extra cash, like.
Nah. I'm not an author.
Yeah, they will.
I'm
buy
not
a
an
copy.
author.
You're assuming people can read.
You're assuming I can write. Not everyone has your skill, One Deck. You should write a book.
I've got a little black book with my poems in. That's from a Pink Floyd tune.
I mean, you could write a book about me. That'd be ace.
Well, I've wrote a poem about you, didn't I?
I do vaguely remember you writing a poem about me.
Yeah, it's called Nathan's Nightmare.
Have you got it to hand? Might as well hear it.
I'm driving. But I can
no
read
worries.
it. I can jib it in the show if you want at some point. I think it's to do with... could probably jib it in on one of the housekeepings, maybe, if you wanted me to.
Yeah, great. We have had it. I've got a couple of different trimmed out clips of you doing poems. I haven't got the most recent. With the one about ether.
Yeah, I got ether, gravity, Coriolis. Fucking, the globe is flat. It was measured like that. You got
That
a
was
few
the first,
now,
wasn't it? Original and best.
Yeah. The first one, yeah. The globe is flat. It was measured like that. The globe is flat. The Greeks all knew that.
Oh, what a lovely surprise. We've got Adam. Hello, Adam.
The Adam.
Hi, Neil. Huey, Demp. Nice, you all right, guys?
Sir?
All right, Adam.
Hey, mate, how you doing?
Fantastic.
Tomorrow night. All good.
Yeah, tomorrow night, Ballbusters, or whatever it gets called. And tonight I'll be doing something with... Are you doing it with Rob and Brian tonight, Adam? Are you around?
No idea what's... Oh, that bit. I've not been invited specifically, but I might be around, yeah.
I don't know who Brian... It's Brian that's organising it as opposed to me, so maybe he doesn't like you. I don't know. I won't say anything. Pretend I didn't
Because
say
I
anything.
keep asking questions. Yeah. He says he's going to explain later. I'd asked him earlier, but I'll be about, if not only in chat. But
I think he took that insult that one day personal. What'd you call him?
a plum.
Plum. That's it.
Nah. That's about the least offensive thing you can call an Irishman.
You have to call me a plum.
Where is it? Is this the stuff he's been doing with Rob? I assume.
It's yeah, they needed to have pulled their thumb out on this quite some time ago. And fortunately, he was like, I want to get this done then. I was like, okay, all right, well, you let me know when you'll do it, and I'll be completely malleable. I'll do it whenever you want. I'll move everything out of the way. And then QE came along and went, I want that day, after Brian had settled on a day.
Good morning, guys.
Hello, Chocolate. Hello, Arwin.
Hey, Chop.
Hello, guys.
Hi, Owen.
Yo, yo.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Arwin, Chocolate Sayin, the Adam Meekin, 10th Man, Quantum Eraser, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hello. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Good to have you. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere-edge horizon, formerly known as the curve of the Earth? That's a great
We
laugh.
debunked
I
that.
saw it on the side of a milk carton.
Missing. Earth curve.
Indeed.
Did it have a sad face? Like a downturned concave curve of the Earth? Sort of.
Yeah.
Any evidence you can acquire an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline?
That would require
Without the
redefining
horizontal
an
plane,
angle.
you cannot have an elevation angle.
I mean, from the absolute grandiose glory of 3 Bitcoin at its peak value being offered for globe proof, one deck has topped it. $100 if you can show any navigation manual that shows an elevation angle being taken from a curved surface. Obviously.
Now watch everybody come in.
What with the?
No, there-
You think we'll get a lot of people because there's $100 attached to it? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Nah, but
Make it $500.
Make it
no,
500.
they're just waiting for the.
Check it out. The tally's risen already. Somebody's up that. I'll push a few more chips on this table. 500. Yeah, no amount of money will ever show an elevation, just say this slowly, angle being taken from a curved surface. It's a contradiction in terms.
they'll just show you the flat plane in the middle of a globe. Remember? That's
That's
probably
what I was just going to say. Sorry, Owen. I was just going to say, where they going to get it from?
For a flat
They
plane.
got it from somewhere,
You
right?
see, none of the manuals show it. None of them.
Yeah, they're all dealing with Earth as a flat plane, as it's measured and navigated and built on. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
Over where? Not for me. It's raining.
Oh, yeah. It will be over there again eventually.
What is even the sun?
I don't know. That's a very good question, though.
Yeah, it's like distance to what?
That's the main question, isn't it? What is it?
Yeah.
How can we worship it?
I
Right.
gave up asking what it is.
Or how can we
Sun is here.
reify it into something physical?
Did you say, what is it and how can we worship it? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, isn't it?
Well-
Heliocentrism is, in essence, sun worship. You know, what it's clues in the title, isn't it?
Yes.
Earth is tilted towards the sun. And the sun, is at the centre of your heliocentric world. Literally, the sun is at the centre of your world. Okay? Well, so it's a sun-centric, sun-worshipping religion. That's what heliocentrism is. Anyway, any evidence of the distance to it? Or what it is,
It's
for that
3
matter?
AUs.
Hell no.
3 AU.
Arwinian units.
Yes.
What's an Arwinian unit again?
It's
Something divisible by rainbow
An
distance.
apparent. No,
Rainbow
it's
distance,
an
I
apparent
remember.
distance.
Sorry, I'm keep rumpusing you. Go ahead.
An Arwinian unit in this context is an apparent distance. So
Yeah, but
a
it's-
rainbow is 1 AU, the moon is 2 AU, and the sun is 3 AU.
Gotcha. I knew rainbows came into it somewhere. Well, I'm glad we cleared that up. Should we move on with that being the established, understood, everybody agrees with truth?
No, and this apparent, is it the father or the mother?
Are you talking to someone else? What's going on? Did I miss something?
It's
A
a party.
parent.
Neil's taking up Ten's mantle.
It was terrible.
That could never
I see what you did there, Chocolate. Mantle.
I know.
Nice.
You like that, right?
better than mine.
Okie dokie. We interrupt this pun session for a housekeeping question. Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
Shout out
No,
to
but-
Superman.
Hold on, we're moving. Let me fast.
Yeah, I was gonna
my
say.
seatbelt.
What were you going to say?
Like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me my house is moving?
No.
Definitely.
Everything.
No, definitely not. You'd notice.
Damn, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, you would notice if it was. It isn't. You don't notice. There's claimed to be an effect we'd observed called Coriolis if Earth was turning, but that would necessitate us turning underneath things not attached to the Earth. And the effect being at 15 degrees an hour drift.
On an axial, correct.
Yeah, but we
You
don't
would
see
need
that.
an hour for that.
Right, but we don't see
But
it.
what if it was all relative? You know?
Coriolis isn't.
Imagine living in a world where you fly. Whenever you fly, you're either flying. Your location is either flying away from you or towards you. Imagine that being reality. Like if I'm in New York and I try to fly to California, California is coming to me while I'm flying to it. That's great. That'd be nice.
But that is the prerequisite conditions needed to have Coriolis effect. So to have Coriolis effect, Earth needs to be turning underneath aeroplanes, because Coriolis effect is you on the ground looking at the aeroplane going, look at that aeroplane seem to take a curved path. And the man next to you saying, no, the seeming to bit, yes, because it's not really curving, it's actually moving straight, but because Earth's turning beneath the aeroplane, we see it seem to drift. Well, in other words, Chocolate saying, well, you'd have to have California coming toward you if you flew from New York. That would be because Earth would be claimed to turn underneath to cause Coriolis effect. So that would be the consequences. But we don't have the effect. Nothing's seeming to drift because we're turning beneath it. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, but you're living in a world where you're not expected to see curvature. You wouldn't feel the movement because it's so slight. Come on.
Not
Well,
only
Neil,
is your house,
I'll try to.
not only
Sorry, go ahead.
is your house moving, not only is your house moving, that if it's not situated exactly east-west, then different parts of your house are moving at different speeds.
Damn.
Like the football
So my
field?
bedroom's moving at one speed, my living room's moving at another speed.
That's the claim.
You got it.
That would be the
Facts.
that's correct. Depending on its orientation. If Earth's turning beneath stuff to see it seem to drift at 15 degrees an hour, then yeah, depending on the orientation of the house, part of your house, if the bedroom, as you described it, is more northerly and the lounge is more southerly, then they're going to have different rotational values ascribed to them. I mean, it's pure nonsense. You'd notice.
And when you
Well, I'll try to
explain
notice it when I wake
them,
up
it sounds
tomorrow.
ridiculous.
Not rotational values, tangential speeds.
Sorry, tangential speeds, rim velocities, if you will.
Yes, sir.
That creation bear back there. Shout out
What's
to you,
up, Chalk?
bro. What up,
What's
man?
up, Chuck? Yeah, what's up, Chuck?
What the heck?
Yo, relax, man.
Did you all see my bunnies video? Speaking of what's up, Chuck, did you see Brenda talking about bunnies?
No.
What?
Check out my video titled "Them Pesky Wabbits." So she goes on and debates with Made by Jim Bob, and they're talking about pie. And in the middle of the conversation, she goes off on this, like she does, just crazy tangent. So I heard it, and you know, in your brain suddenly goes, click. Why is my brain? What's going on? Why is my brain disconnecting during this discussion? And then I rewound it and listened to it again. I'm like, this is so off the wall. So I trimmed it out.
Oh, cool.
Is it part of the library of
Why didn't it know to be food? Yeah, it's along those lines.
food?
Yeah, it's along those sort of lines. Yeah.
Is that the
What did Brenda say
disconnected
about
cat
food?
part?
Well, she's having a discussion with Bob the Science Guy, and I can't verbatim give you the conversation, but what I can do is summarize the situation, which is they're talking at cross purposes. One is talking about something completely unrelated to the other, and neither are listening to each other. They're both just waiting for the time to speak. But in that interim, it seems like a reasonable back and forth because they are actually waiting for their turn to speak. But to be talking about things that are completely unrelated. Now, after a couple of minutes, it descends into the biggest load of nonsense gibberish you've ever heard, with it, but going back and forth between them. It's hard to,
Oh man.
you have to see it. It's like Huey's, I'm sure, got it trimmed out at some stage.
It's a numpty clip.
There you go.
Yeah, I got that clip.
Numpty clips, check them out. But this is my equivalent of a numpty clip. You know, when you hear something so dumb that you're like, I can't believe I've just heard that.
Did you see
Baller
Jim
tactic.
Bob's-
You ain't heard anything yet.
Yeah, if you're
Nathan,
listening,
did
Jim
you-
Bob, you've got some crazy ideas. But I do love you.
To get us back on track,
Can you hear
when you tell a heliocentrist all the nonsense that's related to the globe, they tell you that sounds crazy. You're out of your mind.
Or that your
Yeah.
reference frames are ruined. So given that I've just disseminated the information in regards to Earth turn, Coriolis effect, Earth turning underneath to cause a 15 degrees in our drift, there is a easy misconception that can be had by an anti-flat earther / globe heretic that what I've just done is describe my claim that Earth should turn underneath aeroplanes. Now that's obviously wrong. That's a globe claim we're taking apart when we say we don't see Earth turning underneath aeroplanes. That does not happen. But if you're a idiot, I mean, Simon Dan is, let's face it, an idiot, you'll hear me disseminating a globe claim and then take my description of the globe claim apart with a comment like, you and your reference frames are ruined, directed at me. It's like, I don't have any reference frames. The globe claims 2 of them. We just don't see the effect. Simon Dan doesn't see the effect. Therefore, he assumes that my claim of Earth turning beneath things is wrong. Well, no, it's not my claim, it's the globe claim, but he recognises how wrong it is, and therefore feels he needs to tell me that me saying it is wrong. No, I'm describing how wrong the globe claim is, but yeah, they'll turn around and tell you how it doesn't happen.
Right. Neil touched on exactly what I've been dealing with lately, because I'll bring up, oh, wait, so you're telling me my house moved, and then they deny that, but they believe it.
Well, they've got to talk out both sides of their mouth with Coriolis a lot of the time, but most of them aren't skilled enough to do it, so they just get caught in contradictions, normally in one breath. But if they're reasonably skilled at debating the subject, they'll contradict themselves with a longer period in between.
Or you just simply don't understand.
That's last resort, isn't it? You don't understand.
And
I
that's
like
what we've
that,
been getting
Nathan.
from the Etherites. We don't understand.
Sometimes it's the first resort. It's not the last. Sometimes it's first off because they just
Nathan.
realized how stupid it is what I just said in regards to their model. So they'll look at me like, nah, I think you just don't understand what you're talking about. Oh, okay, I've been talking about this 7 years. I don't understand. Thanks. Meanwhile, I just told
Nathan-
you exactly what it is that you think I don't understand. So
Go ahead,
how does
go-
that work out?
Go ahead, Creation Bear.
No, I was going to say, maybe you need to add to the housekeeping question, distance to the, or what is it, distance between contradictions in terms, right? Distance between contradicting themselves. That's hilarious. I've
That's
never
not
heard
my
you put it
point.
that way.
I can't take credit for that. It was Anthony Riley that actually pointed that out to me about 5 years ago. So, what he did, he chunked out a section of flat Earth debate very early on. It's like we're talking maybe double digits, might even have been single digits, and he presented it to me. I don't think he ever published this, but he presented to me a section of video that had 2 hours between a guy who went under the name of Hank Hill being in a debate with Extremesis or someone like that. I forget who. And he was debating about the inverse square law. Now, after they shamed him, shouted him down, took over the conversation and distracted away from his point in regards to the inverse square law, approximately 2 hours later, he gave a few disclaimers in regards to that debate and then conceded the point, but without it having any loss ascribed to him in conceding the point, because it wasn't attached to the original debate. But obviously, you know, where he knew he was wrong, he conceded it where there was no damage done. So Anthony pointed this out and said, look, you've got to try and keep the show on track. Because if you just let them run riot, so to speak, they'll never get to a point where the conclusory point is actually conceded. Now, in spite of me trying to interject some control in that regard, it will never reach the point where a fundamentalist will be able to concede a point. That's never going to happen. Not when it's attached to something with leverage, where they have to basically relinquish their worldview upon concession. And that's that's the stakes here, isn't it? You know, a concession is a relinquishment of your entire worldview in this particular corner of the internet. The stakes are high. But anyway, yeah. So it's Anthony Riley that needs the credit for that, not me. The distance between contradictory points, that's Anthony.
Wasn't that Hank Hill in Paper?
Paper Explainer, yes, it was. Yes, that's correct. Good memory.
I would say their concessions come quite often. They just come willingly. They come kind of out of ignorance, not understanding that what they're saying is a concession.
Indeed, and it's my job to point that out. So, I hate to bring it as an example, but it's the only recent example I've got in the forefront of my mind, which is Wits It Gets It. So a lot of people who, like with the Globers, when they come and they don't actually have a response to any of the debating points, will start criticising the formatting of the show or my interjections and control of the show as a host. Fine, it's not in one ear or one out the other, unless it's useful for an example like it is now. And that's to say that my job is to try and keep those points contradictory close together. Yeah, rally the opponent, in this case Wits It Gets It, to make those contradictory points close together so they can be pulled apart. Now that's the process that I'm trying to present to the audience. That's my job, if you will. But in so doing, highlighting the contradictory points or where the argument fails, it annoys the supporter of the opponent, in this case Wits It, greatly. And they can see that that's been orchestrated by me. I've got control of the show. Therefore, they pin the blame on that. You concisely putting this contradictory point and its overcoming rebuttal nice and concisely together to the point where you can edit it out to a 10-minute video with minor editing for a few gaps, you know, where there's a long pause of embarrassment because they haven't got a response. Other than trimming out those gaps to keep it snappy, I don't have to do much work in the editing. Now, that's not because I'm just trying to do it to keep the editing work down, although that is definitely a positive consequence. I'm doing it so that it's concisely presented to the audience. Now, that concise presentation isn't favourable to the opponents that they moan about, you've got a mute button. That's a way of saying, your control of this show to defeat this position is outrageous, how dare you. Let them rumpus the crap out of you and verbal diarrhea you so you can't concisely pull apart their point. That's what you've got a mute button actually means. Anyway, I digress way off the housekeeping track. Anybody got any points before I move back onto track with housekeeping?
Quote unquote, nobody's answered my question.
Quote unquote. Ah, colloquially.
That's a good one.
I think, if I could, I'd like to have a go at claiming the $100.
Oh, wow. That's an out of left field. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah,
hold on. Who shouted it went up to 500? Just want to check what the score is.
It was $50, wasn't it?
One Dex lowered his chip amount now that you've stepped up, Adam. Check it out. That's the power of being Adam. Go ahead, Adam.
Raise it.
Now, I've got to have a couple of disclaimers.
Boy.
No colour commentary, please, QE. Adam is very... I've forgotten what I say now. Very measured.
Measured.
You guys have parroted that for how long now? It's
All
okay.
wrong.
Go ahead, Adam.
Yes, no colour commentary, please. Go ahead, Adam. We've got your screen up.
It's not directly from the... I don't know if the book's there, but this is from NASA. I think I've mentioned it in the past. So I'll just skip through, Nathan. I won't play. You can see here they're demonstrating the basic principles. Just feedback from Discord there.
It's John. It's John on, not on mute. Bloody outrageous.
So we've got the basic use of a sextant. I think we're using that flat baseline there. But when they're talking about going to the moon, we've got the guys here. And this is the guy using his space sextant. The points he does first, it's just basically telling you roughly what they do. But here we go. So this is the view he's got, and he's going to take 2 readings, one to the starlet, which is positioned above the big ball Earth, and then one to his curved baseline, which is just some geographic landmark on the ball. And then he brings both targets together like you would with a normal sextant and takes this angle. And then I think the claim is Mark tells the computer to measure the angle between the landmark and the target star. Then it runs it through the guidance program, telling him how to do it. But that would suggest...
Let's get that clear. You say it runs through the guidance program to calculate the elevation angle off this curved baseline, correct?
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. I'd like to see that program perform that function, because I've seen an example equivalent, which is from Rob Durham. This is my opportunity to plug. I believe Rob will be there today. I don't know. He may not be, but hopefully he will, along with Brian. So later on this evening on this channel, Nathan Oakley 1980, there's going to be a live stream with a new flat earth proof and all of the discussion that surrounds it. It's been under the table for quite some time. So hopefully it'll be super refined. No pressure, Brian, if you're listening. Anyway, that'll be later on today. So that's Thursday if you're watching live, or if you're watching after the fact, it'll maybe be broadcast already. Also, there's going to be a special, it may or may not be labelled Ball Busters, but just so you know where it's going to be, on Quantum Eraser channel, and that's tomorrow, Friday. So 1 p.m. Central, correct?
1 p.m. US Central, 7 p.m. UK. It is a Ball Busters special edition.
Perfect. So that'll be Friday. Be here or be Sphere today. Nathan Oakley 1980 at about 9 o'clock, I believe it'll be. And that's UK time. So 3 p.m. Central, something like that. And also be here or be Sphere on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. And that'll be 1 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. UK, Friday, tomorrow. Okie dokie. Adam, let's get back to this.
I'm not getting the $100 then.
Well, unless you can... if you're going to say computer says yes, okay, let's see that.
I didn't say that. NASA did.
Well, you're citing it. Check out that Weasley. That was Weasley. Not going to let that slide. This becomes yours. This is yours.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did say there was a disclaimer or two in it. That was the bit I found quite funny. They don't bother to tell you. Mark tells the computer. It's like a Billy and Peter book, isn't it? When you're kids, Mark tells the computer to measure the angle between the landmark and the target, then runs it through the guidance program, helping determine their location in the middle of space.
Yeah, Rob Durham's done it.
Wait a second. Wait, hold on. I'm rumpusing you. How can a computer... Does he have the computer in his viewer?
That's a good point. Is the computer looking at this?
Something to this?
Yeah. What Kiwi's pointing out is an elevation angle measurement is exactly that. It's a measurement, right? You've got to be looking at it and measuring it, right, Kiwi? That's your point.
Yes.
Is the computer looking at this?
No, he's just being told by Mark.
So what does Mark give to the computer again?
Well, he tells the computer to measure it.
He tells the computer to measure it, but is the computer looking at it?
No, Mark is.
So Mark's looking at it, and he tells the computer to measure something that Mark's looking at. That's a bit of a problem.
I didn't know they had computers you could talk to in the 70s.
Siri, measure this angle.
So I wanted to add something because I saved a screenshot of something I had found a while ago, and I think it relates to this. Something about one of their computers having some type of malfunction. So it says the lander's limited battery power required the shutting down of its guidance system. The astronauts also needed to use an onboard sextant to confirm their location by sighting in the stars, similar to how ancient sailors navigated. There are 37 stars, and one is the sun, said Apollo engineer Jerry Woodfill. That provided an accurate way of aligning the spacecraft's computer platform to allow the astronauts to steer their way through the heavens. End of citation.
Now skip to Buzz Aldrin saying, "We were just passengers. We were just along for the ride."
Yeah, because I thought that black lady did all the calculations on a piece of paper and they had to fire them in, and there was no adjustments. They were just en route. They weren't tweaking, were they?
And I also thought that some of the astronauts said clearly that they couldn't see the stars. So how did they use a sextant to confirm their location by sighting in the stars?
Didn't say he couldn't see them when they did the interview with Patrick Moore. He said, "I don't remember seeing any stars at all."
No, he's not talking about those ones. He's talking about other guys that have been up there that say they don't see anything.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
A palpable blackness. So what you guys are saying that these are some continuity errors?
In cinematography, perfect use of the term. Absolutely correct. So these aren't issues with our world. They're issues with cinematography. They're continuity errors. That's correct. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure that we're all breathing without the necessary antecedent of a container to press upon?
My favorite, and there is no demonstration as of yet.
Well, it could be if you redefine antecedent and gas pressure. Then everything checks out.
Well, yeah, really? Well, show me the container.
Oh my God.
We're breathing.
Do we? I'll ask the panel. I'm pretty sure you'll know what the response is. So when a fundie responds to you in that regard and says, "Okay, show me the container," what's your response?
Gravity.
There is a correct response, by the way.
Show me the cow.
Yeah, show me how many
We're breathing?
spots that cow had on the last steak that you ate.
Okay, I know what you mean, and you are right. You're describing an antecedent-consequent relationship between filet mignon and a cow. If you've got filet mignon, you've definitely had a cow at some point, yeah. But what's the antecedent-consequent relationship that you're describing when specifically somebody says, "Where's your dome? Show me the dome then." What are you suggesting by way of, yes, I appreciate this antecedent-consequent relationship, and that's an example of one. How does that link to their response when they say, "Well, show me the dome then"?
We'll have to gas pressure.
Perfect. Who said that? Was that Albariqua? Got gas pressure. Exactly. In the same way you don't need to show a cow if you've got a filet mignon in front of you to kind of bin that steak in front of you unless you had the cow. Likewise, we couldn't have the gas pressure we were breathing unless we had the containment for the gas pressure we're breathing. So while we can't show you the container, or we could just lie and go, the blue bit's the container, the sky's the container, and it just happens to turn black at night. But no, you don't know what the container is. I know there is one, because there can't not be one. We've got gas pressure. Yeah, spot on, Albariqua.
I say we're.
Say again, Neil?
I say when they ask me that, I said we're breathing, aren't we? Isn't that the same thing?
Everyone remember Total Recall? When he puts his hand on the Martian switch with the 3 fingers, and it sinks to... Yeah, that's the one. Right. Well, all they do is stick some uranium rods into some carbon, whatever it is, that's got a load of oxygen in it. I've forgotten what they plumbed up in that particular scenario. But
ice.
Was it just ice? Fair enough. In that same film, when they break the glass, don't shoot the glass, because it'll shatter and all the gas will escape and everyone will die. But how is that any different to them releasing a load of gas from a magic machine that the aliens left? Once that reaches the vacuum outside the domes that they've kept pressurized, because you need containment to have gas pressure, where's the containment for the gas that they release outside of the domes? What would it do? It would just dissipate into the area of volume that it had to fill. And if that's space, then it would all just fill space. In other words, it would all bugger off. But, they just release a load of gas and it all defies entropy, just hangs around for them to breathe. Why? Well, because it's a movie magic. It's a continuity error. You can have a movie defy the second law of thermodynamics. And likewise, the movie that is a globe Earth in a sky vacuum has plenty of continuity errors. However, we on Flat Earth Debate, and I speak for all of us, don't tend to focus on the continuity errors because they're weak. By comparison to pointing out that you can point out how there are occasionally fawn-shaped footprints in the snow, but check it out, sometimes they're welly boot footprints and they've got trademarks in them and all sorts. You can point those errors out in Narnia. Alternatively, you can say Narnia's not real. The sky vacuum, called outer space, isn't real. We'd all be dead. There'd be no gas to breathe if the sky was a vacuum. Bye-bye Narnia. Bye-bye sky vacuum. No need to point out, no offence to Adam, we have actually done it on this show, which is why I'm saying this, point out that they're claiming sextants work in space when you can't get an elevation angle measurement from a curved baseline. It's absurd. They even show you the curved baseline they're claiming that Timmy's talking to the computer about. It's absolutely ludicrous. But the place they're claiming this sextant measurement took place in is a fake place. It's Narnia. They're not in Narnia taking sextant measurements. You can debunk the sextant measurement in Narnia, but just debunking Narnia is far quicker. You can't have gas pressure without a container. Ergo, all claims of anything in a sky vacuum known as outer space are automatically fake, because you can't have the gas pressure we're breathing if there's a possibility of travelling through a sky vacuum. There isn't.
They also seem to think because...
I would just add... Sorry,
I'll add one deck first. Hold on, Chocolate. Go ahead, one deck.
I was saying they also seem to think for some reason, because these pressure differences at different altitudes, that also means that, we don't have a container. I don't know how, because of pressure gradients. Well, how do you work pressure gradient out then? As if that's evidence of no containment.
Yeah, it's like suggesting that you could get a miles per gallon rating from a car without it using fuel. It's like part of the description of a gradient is a gas pressure. So a gas pressure gradient. Well, first you have to have gas pressure to have a gas pressure gradient. So you're back to the original argument. Well, how did you get the gas pressure in the first place for it to form a gradient? It first must develop pressure. That would be pressing on something. And that's what gas pressure is. So they appeal to the delta of the argument. So they say, how can you have a gas pressure gradient? Let's not focus on the fact that you need a container to have gas pressure to have a gas pressure gradient. Let's just ask you of the delta and hope you don't notice.
Yep.
Hey, to point out continuity errors, it doesn't have to be a movie. It could just be contradictory statements made by a person or persons. Can I do that?
Not really. Continuity in terms of the progression of the plot or the movie or the play.
Yes.
Well,
yes. What's the difference? I don't need a movie. It could just be somebody carpet bomb barraging contradiction after contradiction. That's continuity here.
No, I see where you're going. What you're saying is that's narrative, right? So therefore, you can have
I point one out all the time, right? The Mr. Orion trial by fire. Oh, we need to solve these problems before we send people to this region of space. I thought we sent people to that region of space already. So did I miss the briefing? What's going on here? This is why I would say to not discount continuity errors, because for at least people like me, they help with the main narrative being debunked. Because even if you're a normie, you could see certain things just don't make sense. So I would say, yeah, of course, the obvious ultimate argument is the basis, but continuity errors in a narrative that's supposed to be real, not even movies. I mean, I just pointed out a real life one. That's not a movie, even though they're talking about essentially a movie, but you know what I mean.
It's a story. When Q is describing
Yeah.
a continuity error in that context, although it's loose, I'll agree, because it's a failure in a story. So if you want to say, okay, in the plot of this particular story, the person put down a hairbrush and then picked up a comb. Well, that just broke my immersion. Well, in the same way, someone telling you about an area of, the area of what that they'd been to before. Did you say chocolate?
Isn't this the
There's
Van
an
Allen
area
belt,
to
Scott?
this region of space.
That area that they claim to have been before or possibly going to again or struggling to get to now isn't real. It's akin to saying we're going to get to Narnia, we just struggle to find the materials for the wardrobe these days. So the area they're travelling to is fake, and you're saying, if I keep that intact, I can move forward and suggest that there's a continuity error, and that's useful for normies. I can't decry that. You would know better than I.
Adam, hold on a second.
Right.
Adam, is your name Chocolate? Yeah, could we start calling you Chuck?
Well, milk chocolate.
Damn, I'm getting
yeah.
roasted over here today for the
It's
chalk
racist.
They hate it, bro. They hate it. Don't worry.
That's a 2-for-1, by the way.
But real
this-
quick, I was gonna say I'm sorry, Adam. I just want to point out, like, as far as like what we're talking about, continuity errors. We pointed out one earlier. What kind of darkness was that you said? They described it as QE. What was that?
A palpable blackness.
Oh, and some of the other ones that essentially went to the same place. How did they describe that as?
It was so bright that they could hardly see anything.
Oh, that checks out, right?
Yep.
Sorry, Adam. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
It might have been the Van
I could.
Allen radiation
Oh.
playing games on their mind. No.
There's another Adam down there.
Yeah, Adam.
Well, it is that point. This was the Van Allen belts, and my little nephew's he's into space at the moment, and my dad was just talking. I just butted in with that, and you tell you about the continuities, and the response I remember was, getting through that dangerous radiation. How did the guys to the moon do it? And well, we didn't know about it then, and that continuity error, for want of a better thing, it is very powerful, because my dad's face went, what? What do you mean? It's just that complete defy. I mean, it's a good out. Oh, we didn't know about the radiation then, so it didn't affect us.
Wow.
He caught
It's
that
quite
without
glaring.
any. Did he catch that without any prodding? He caught that right off the bat.
Yeah, well, I said it sarcastically, and he looked and went, you know what I mean?
Still, that's pretty impressive.
Dude, I remember a movie from a long time. It's from the 80s or something about this. It's kind of boring, but it's about an astronaut who is dying of leukemia because he was exposed to like the sunlight or something. I was thought like, wait, like, did he go through the Van Allen radiation belt? Is that it? But that wasn't it. It's really weird. But does anybody know any of these astronauts that went to the moon that died because of this? Or are they all still out there?
They're all still alive.
I mean, they might not even be
Radiation
there might
is
not be
that
any
bad
radiation
then.
belts. That's just another blag to say that there's an area before you get into space.
Okay, so in response to the question, any evidence that you can have gas pressure, that would be the stuff we're all breathing, without a container. Where are we at?
Not seen any yet.
Nah.
No evidence yet.
When you talk about the brightness of the stars, is that visible light?
No, there won't be any evidence, period. It's not a yet. We're not waiting for somebody to do it. That's That's a continuity error.
Not everything's a continuity error.
It is if I say it is.
Okay. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's that?
Hell
Speaking of continuity errors,
Well, if
Yeah,
you
they'd have to define
if
it
you
first.
Google, this is props go to bandsaw. If you Google how gravity was discovered, he found a citation from National Geographic that says, legend has it that Isaac Newton formulated gravitational theory in 1965 or 66 after watching an apple fall and asking why the apple fell straight down. Then Stanford.edu says the legend is that the Newton discovered gravity when he saw a falling apple. Got it. Some lady with an echo. And then if you go to Virginia.edu, says that the legend is that Newton saw an apple fall in his garden. And one more, the last one I like this one because I found this one. Rochester.edu says, as in all such legends, this is almost certainly not true in its detail, but the story contains elements of what actually happened.
Wow.
So
I've got to be honest, I've
It's
heard
a
on
legend
several
now.
occasions and read in several sources that it was actually a pair.
it was fair. Newton's up there with Icarus and
Icarus? Icarus?
I'm loving that. This is the legend of gravity now. What the hell?
what's Icarus?
Oh, he flew too
Cool
close
name,
to
by the way.
the sun.
Oh, you did mean Icarus
The
then?
little angel wanted to
Yes.
touch the sun.
Everybody all at once now. What's an Icarus?
Flew too close to the sun.
Is that what it is?
It's just a metaphor. He's saying he's up there with Icarus, as in, flying too close
Yeah,
to the
he
sun.
had
Spell it.
wax wings.
Spell it.
Okay.
You cut off.
Should we
I
move?
think it's Icarus. I think I could be wrong.
Icarus, the angel that went too close to the sun.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Well, any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Think how devastating that is. I mean, you say that. Just consider for a brief second the devastation of that statement.
Yeah, I remember adding it after, what was probably a couple of years of pink writing.
Pink writing.
Well, it's a great question. I ask it in the chat because people will say, well, so you don't think astrophysicists, science? I'll be like, well, just can you present any single viable scientific hypothesis from that field? And I don't get a response. It's just crickets.
Ever. That's the important part of that. Ever.
Yeah. So they answer the question for themselves. So you don't think it's science? Like, you don't. Yeah.
It's a very good question on account of the fact that there's a very strict answer. If they say, of course there's science, of course we've got valid hypotheses. Okay, let's have a look at one. Then you can break it down based on its cause and effect reasoning, its validity to a naturally occurring phenomena to actually study, the presumed cause being real and part of the hypothesis and capable of being varied. If you've got all of those elements, you go, okay, you're right, you have got a valid hypothesis. Now, I'd go no further because QE was quite specific about this question. So we can make this next statement. We're not even asking for the experiment. Just the valid hypothesis.
I know.
Well, some people say it's not science because you got a man-made device in there somewhere. I just heard that recently.
Hey, Neil, friggin', cease and desist, man.
Why?
That's worth. Why did you
Really?
tell him to cease and desist? Was it, you mean as in his sentiment, or him just being quiet?
I heard it in chat yesterday. He thinks I'm referring to Witsit, but I'm not. It was in chat yesterday.
Oh, now I picked up what he means.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a mad dog, but not that mad, Huey.
Well, let's just cover it anyway. So,
If I'm gonna
go on, Adam.
I was to say, Neil, if I'm gonna test do boiling water, for example, what am I going to use to ascertain the temperature?
You have to use heat, and you have to have a kettle for the water to be in, right?
What am I going to use to ascertain the temperature of the water?
You should ask Arwen that question.
I suggest you use your elbow because it's perfectly natural.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that would be the point. What naturally occurring thermometers do we have? We don't, do we? We can use equipment, but the point that we raise with things like balls in a shed is that the phenomena mustn't be conjured within the apparatus, but to be seen elsewhere in our natural world first. But it doesn't preclude you from using equipment to measure things.
I agree.
Every single experiment ever always had a man-made device in it. By the way, if that helps.
When you break down a hypothesis to its absolute bare bones, it really only has two constituent parts. An independent variable, that would be that which you will vary to hopefully cause the effect you're studying. And the effect you are studying, that would be the dependent variable. That is really all you need for a hypothesis. Now, as a result of that, when I said earlier the pink writing, just to contextualize what I mean in case there's anybody who wasn't around when this was going on, what Quantum Eraser would very skillfully do is simply ask the person who's claiming science to identify one of them, either the phenomena being studied or the presumed cause of that effect. Might have been varied to prove it causes it, doesn't matter at this stage, we're only looking at the hypothesis. But at that point, somebody, almost every day at one stage, would come on going, of course the globe has science. Okie dokie then. What's the independent variable for this presumed cause that you're going to validate by varying it to see if it's going to cause the effect you've studied? Or to boil it down to its bare bones, what's the dependent variable, effect? And what's the independent variable, presumed cause? That's all a hypothesis really is. Yes, you break it down in more thorough terms with the null. That would be if you vary the thing you think will cause the effect, it doesn't cause the effect, hence offering the empiricism to the method. One or other of those two hypotheses will get confirmed at the end of the scientific experimentation process. But that's not important to what we're asking in this housekeeping question. All we're asking for is any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics.
No.
What about any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
Right.
I take that as a no. Any evidence of the R value? Oh, well, we've got volcanoes probably from Arwen. Go on, Arwen.
No. They try. Wow, getting feedback. They tried to measure it, but yeah, they lost the technology. They can't put it back together again. Oh wait, no, they were never actually able to successfully measure it because every time they tested it was wrong. But yeah, I don't know. It's still popular. They still think like, yeah, sure, it's molten and iron and magnetism or something and heat, the geothermic heat. So yeah, molten iron core. Okay.
I mean, 8 miles and almost 4,000 miles. Same difference.
Well, somebody told me it's like when you take a sonogram, that's how they do it, like the same way a sonogram is taken.
P waves and S waves, primary and secondary, the return signal. Yeah, you can describe it that way. But they got it wrong. So when Chocolate just brought up the Cola Super Deep Borehole, I think I've got the title right. They only went down about 8 miles. But as they did so, they had predictions of what they would hit based on that return signal, or those return signals. And they were incorrect. So the methodology is flawed. It gives incorrect, inaccurate results, but yet you want to base the 4,000K... It's just ludicrous. No. P waves and S waves don't prove we've got a molten iron core. Plus all of the diagrammatical examples in cartoon format that say that they're presuming they've got a spherical Earth and then they've got a molten iron core based on these inaccurate waves. So no, on many counts.
You know they do teach it in school though.
They also teach gravity as a force.
Yeah, certain group of flat earthers unknowingly believe that shit.
Which particular ship? Which bit? Which bit?
Desist.
The molten iron core.
Really? Which?
More on that tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Okay. That just so story part of a paradigm that needs magnetism by any chance?
How's the weather?
It's fantastic over here. It's really nice. So what about the R value, Earth radius?
Black Swan.
You're causing a bit of feedback, by the way. I just want to tell John, if we something to do with us both having banana or whatever we've got running with our setups, but you need to mute locally in G+ if you're just so you don't cause feedback.
I'm not causing feedback, dude.
Yeah,
Your feedback was there long before I got here. I'm locally muted.
It doesn't matter. It will still cause feedback. Just trust me. I mute during Ballbusters locally as much as it's a pain in the ass in Discord because I'd rather just press my local mute button on the mic. Much easier. But no, I have to mute in Discord too when I'm doing Ballbusters because otherwise I cause feedback, which you moan at me about. I mean, I could just say, I'm not causing that feedback you know I'm causing. I've got myself locally muted.
You're the one causing the feedback.
It's me. Of course it's me. Ultimately, it's me. It's my show. So yes, I am ultimately to blame. Like management, shit rolls uphill. Anyway, that concludes
at least
that.
you guys don't have to pull out your cell phones out of your back pockets to unmute. Like I do.
Especially when it's for colour commentary. We love that. I mean, that's one of my favourite things. Like a really good points getting made and you hear, yeah, I agree. Or,
oh, shut up.
Oh, who said I was talking to you?
I'm going to refrain from now on.
I wasn't talking to you, Neil. I mean, it could have been anybody at all. It was Neil, totally talking to Neil.
I was talking to me because I heard it back and it sounds terrible, so I will not do it no more.
Oh, I'm really glad to hear that. Actually, there's loads of people that do like your colour commentary.
Yeah.
Get him.
Get the bats.
Equally, there are, just so this shit sandwich, is fully complete. There's plenty of people that dislike it also.
No shit.
But on the upside, QE loves it. He's always commenting about how he loves colour commentary during shows. Especially it helps with his editing processes. Nothing better than a really devastating concession coming and someone saying, yeah, answer the question through the top of them. That works really well in the edit.
Right. It's more
no
about
evidence of the R value.
I got through all of the housekeeping questions. And at 54 minutes, I'm not going to complain. Still all there in the housekeeping section of the show, which just happens to be the entirety of the live show, pretty much. No 10th man today. You missed.
Here.
Very little input. You've been missed 10th. See what I mean?
I'm on the road.
Again?
On the road again.
Well, no, I got cut short. I was supposed to come back tomorrow, but we got a major fire. My wife had to evacuate last night, so I've got to go see what's burned or hasn't burned.
Jeez.
Bloody hell.
Everybody all right?
Yeah, everyone's all right, but I don't know if my property's all right.
Wow. Okay. That's a bit more somber than I was expecting.
Yeah,
But on
it's
that,
14 hours straight drive right now. So
on the upside, Brian and I are going to be hosting a show this evening. So Be Here or Be Sphere on Nathan Oakley 1980. Obviously only applied if you're watching live right now. So Brian's going to be releasing some new information that hasn't been discussed. It's been hinted at quite frequently by 10th Man in his multiple presentations, but it's not necessarily been focused on hyper specifically in the way that Brian's going to tonight. So I don't necessarily want to give away too much because it's his baby, along with Rob and lots of other people, Adam and lots of other people who've taken part in this particular information. Now, pre-Ether, which is about 10, maybe 2 weeks ago, this was being hinted at. If you're a regular audience member, you'll hear us all talking about this fantastic bit of information that's going to be disseminated. Well, Brian's going to be disseminating that information, if you can remember that back that far. I'm doing a terrible job of building this up. But you're going to want to be here. Yeah, it's been refined by some great minds, and hopefully Brian does a great job of disseminating this out in terms of what it is and how it works and what it means. So we'll be going through that tonight on Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. So that's Thursday tonight if you're watching live. But also there is going to be a show tomorrow on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. So Be Here or Be Sphere for Quantum Eraser's Ballbuster special, and that will run at 1 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. UK, as I say, over on the Quantum Eraser YouTube channel. Shout out to Sebastian Tello, who says, I recommended your show on Flat Earth page on Facebook. They got mad at me, lol, and I realised that Facebook is full of trolls. Cheers! Thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Sebastian. Really appreciate the support.
That makes me think that this whole ether nonsense was a monkey wrench thrown in some devastating proof that's coming. Huh.
Oh no. I mean, the devastating proof, I don't know how behind the scenes you get, Neil, in terms of listening to this stuff.
More devastating proofs.
Everything's devastating proof. Once you appreciate that the world you're standing upon is actually flat, you recognise that almost without exception, every example that's ever laid down to you is going to come back to a flat Earth at some stage. And that's padding out more and more.
The point I'm making is not that. The point I'm making is this whole nonsense was to deter more information that's coming out. That's what it seems like.
That sounds conspiratard, man. No. You got any evidence for that?
Yeah.
What?
Neil being triggered is evidence.
Nah, because, listen. All right, maybe I am a little conspiratard here. Just seems that way.
Just a feeling you've got. Hold on, is that the only standard we're going to get offered? Neil's gut feeling? Really?
Yeah, try putting a hat in the bed and then tell me I'm wrong when you got bad luck.
Okay. That's such an old reference that literally nobody will follow it. But with that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering Streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, though, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. Another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and Cheapest panels. I've been Nathan Oakley. Stay tuned if you're watching on an after show, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Cease and desist.
Actually, I said cease and assist.
Okay.
And where are all the globe poop scenes at?
Globers. Oh yeah, they used to
Yeah,
come on the show.
the ones with the proof scenes, like the ones that used to call us crazy because they had all the proof scenes and all the science. Where are they?
They're at Japan. You go there right now, you'll see about 60 people there.
Is that where they're keeping the science and the proof scenes?
Yep.
Why don't they share with the rest of the class? I don't understand.
Yeah, they don't have any proof. But they go and look
Yeah.
for affirmation bias with all their little buddies. It's pretty pathetic. They're probably talking about rocket launches at the moment. Is that still a thing? Did they actually? Did they
what it
get
is
to
that
Narnia yet?
they're gathering up their emotions because Artemis was scrubbed, the new moon orbiter. They scrubbed it like twice last week or something. So maybe they're a little sad about that. So I understand feelings.
You want to hear something funny? Pause. Guy was telling me that tells you how much goes into this. They have to get it perfect. They have to keep stopping because it ain't ready. That should tell you that Earth is not flat.
I understand where you're going with this, Neil. You're saying if they launch 5 days early, well, that's because proving that the Earth's a sphere is just so easy they can get it off the ground ahead of schedule. If they went on time, well, that's because the Earth isn't flat, and obviously they can get a rocket in front of people and show you rockets going up into the sky. If it goes late, well, it's because it's very difficult proving Earth's not flat by sending a rocket in front of a spectating audience into the sky. In other words, it doesn't matter what the scenario, what the circumstances, anti-flat Earth / globe heretic friends will find a reason for that to disprove flat Earth or prove a globe.
Correct.
Was that show 1729?
Yeah, today's, yeah.
Thanks. Got my picture of a spaceman holding a sextant, Adam.
Nice. Did I get me $100?
What?
I mean, technically, it didn't. You didn't say you had to prove it. You just had to show it in some manual.
Yeah, one deck's not replying to you. You didn't fulfill it, Adam. I mean, if you're going to take a global stance on what you perceive to be fulfilling a challenge, then yeah, by those standards, I mean, you really should be suing him.
Thinking about it.
When was the last time somebody came in for Bitcoin? It's been a while, right?
It's not really worth much anymore, Neil. Did you not know?
No. Why? Bitcoin fell?
Yeah, it's about
yeah.
19 G's right now. Last time I checked, anyway.
Yeah, what would be the point in proving a ball for a measly, what, 50,000 pounds?
Yeah. You've
What's
got to
the
get at
effort?
least 200 grand to fail to approve the globe.
I mean, if anything, we're in the bear market, so like this would be the time to prove it, get your Bitcoin, and then when the bull run starts, not to go into finance, but hey, if you're gonna do it, go all the way, man.
I can't even remember what the last challenger, claimant, whatever you want to call him, for Bitcoin had to offer, if I'm honest. Any of you guys remember what the last offering to try and get Bitcoin was?
I thought it was that guy that was swearing that, and he was trying to explain his what do you call
Going
it?
over the curve.
Yeah, the guy that was trying to explain how he saw it, but he was actually doing it in Muppet vision.
Oh, I do remember, yeah. Saying, this is how I saw it. And then you're like, so you're seeing the side of your own head and the target, Well, no, that's how I'm describing it. But that's not how you saw it. Right? It's only describable in Muppet vision, so that's how you'll be describing it, not that that's what we see.
I think he was the guy.
Yeah, he was only describing how he saw it, not how he saw it. Big difference there.
Yeah, how we could describe it versus how we could see it. But how we could see it was how he saw it, and he's describing it in Muppet vision, seeing the side of his own head. But unless the conversation picks up in quality pretty soon, this is going to be a short show because I've got another one with Brian later.
Yeah, some of us got bumped to the after show, Nathan, for some reason.
Okay.
Say one more time, Paul.
Yeah.
Some of us got bumped to the after show.
Yeah, that's how it's supposed to work. I'll move to the after show. Everybody needs to follow me.
Curvature. Void of
Curves at the surface all the time. I mean, we see hills everywhere, mountains, valleys.
Yeah, but overall, right? So if water takes the shape of its container and the Earth is supposedly 70% water.
Well, who said that?
Cool. I mean, no way to know for sure, right? But that's what we're told. We know the oceans are massive. They're huge. And if we do laser tests across lakes that are 18 miles long, and well, then it's obviously a flat, level plane.
Well, it's not a plane. I mean, it's definitely not a sphere, but it's not a plane.
What?
It's not a sphere, like, because we see it too far. The horizon's not where it's supposed to be on your globe. Okay, so it's not a sphere, but that doesn't make it a plane.
Well, it's an irregular plane, a stationary irregular plane.
Well, Earth moves all the time.
Does it?
What?
Of course it does. You ever seen worms crawl through the earth? So yeah, worms move the earth. Ants make hills with earth. Okay, even an ant can move earth, so it's not
Oh,
stationary.
here we go, the Earth guy again.
Okay. No, fair enough. I mean...
so we proved Earth moves, and because we can dig holes, right, Earth is not a plane. So no,
Well, the
Earth is not
quality
stationary,
definitely
and it's not a plane.
You just. I got to
Is your argument that Earth moves
Hang on.
because a worm in the dirt moves the dirt?
It's not an argument. That's an observable
He
fact.
said.
So that proves that Earth moves.
Yeah, Earth
Hold on.
is not stationary because it can move.
Hang on, let me ask a question of this
So
guy.
why is anybody
Did,
objecting to it? Why is anybody objecting to what he's just said? It's demonstrably
I'm
correct.
trying to say something.
Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, did the Earth move the ant, or did the ant move the Earth?
Good one,
I'm not sure.
Okay, then shut up.
All
We're
I
claiming
know is
here
there was
that
a
the
hill
Earth,
there that wasn't
moved.
there before. So something moved it. And Earth being the thing that it was made of, that hill, makes it curving and movable.
So you're not sure if
Movable's
the
very
ant.
different. Yeah, it can be moved, but the Earth isn't moving in of itself, but it can be moved.
It's moving right now.
It's
Really?
moving, or it is
There's a
being
worm out
moved
there
by
somewhere.
something else.
How are you observing this movement?
Hold on.
I got
It's not being
faith
pedantic.
that a
I mean,
worm is moving
hold on,
through the
hold on.
Earth.
Just one sec. We are getting down to a pedantic discussion about this, but, you know, if he wants to say volcanoes are literally forming the ground, therefore that is a movement of the ground. Okay, you know, if you want to say, I don't know if this is the right term, but at the microscopic level, Earth is moving. But that doesn't alter the claim that we're spinning and have rotational value, which doesn't sound like you agree with. So I think we can move on. But the other one is in regards to it not being a plane. Okay. But it's measured and navigated as a plane.
If
Now,
you're
I'd
referring
like
to the
to go
surface of water, sure.
I'd like to go back to the moving part for a second. So, you ever sit on a picnic bench, one of those old, worn out, sun drenched picnic benches, right? And you're sitting there and you see little slivers of wood pop up off them. And sometimes I like to pick at them and move the little pieces. When I do that, is the entire picnic bench moving?
No.
Rest my case.
But you can think of it like it's the entire bench movie.
Okay, so what's the objection to it being described as a plane?
Well, you could dig holes.
Irregular plane?
No, I'm saying a plane, right? Like a surface, if you were to put any 2 points on the surface and connect them with a straight line, the straight line would lie wholly on the surface, right? So because we could dig holes that's more than a surface, by definition, Earth is not a plane.
An irregular plane?
It's not plane at all.
Because
holes. You can dig holes. There's a z-axis. I mean, you don't understand that it's more than a surface because of a z-axis?
Okay, so if you've got a hole and you dig down, or you've got a hill that raises up, how do you measure how high the hill is or how deep the hole is? What do you reference it to?
She can drill a hole and it'd be 2 wood.
I don't hear an answer, Nathan.
So what are you referencing it back to? If you've got a height of a hill, for instance, does it have a height that you can refer to or not?
Just
Hubble
gathering up the notes, I guess.
referencing.
Hold on. I'm asking the guy who was speaking earlier. Was it hillside?
He's Googling the information.
That's me, Nathan.
Was it you that was speaking a few seconds ago?
No, that wasn't me. That was the other guy. I don't know his name.
That guy's gone.
Oh, is he dropped? Is he fell off the server?
He fell off the flat.
Okay.
He dug a hole.
He fell in the hole he dug.
Anybody else?
Dug a hole and didn't want to reference.
Yeah, answer the question, Nathan, for yourself. Or do you want me to?
Yes, so it's not me asking and answering, Adam. Go ahead, please.
Well, we would reference things to sea level, wouldn't we? So 400 foot above sea level. A trench 400 foot below sea level.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant to his point. I mean, it's correct, but it's irrelevant to his point. If we're going down the pedantic road,
so
you're just talking about in reference to a measurement. That doesn't preclude the fact that it's still higher and lower than the plane. Define a plane.
Yeah. So it's referenced. So the height of the hill is referenced to the flat plane.
Okay, but you're digging beneath it.
And the depth is referenced to the flat plane.
Well, that's fine. It could be referenced to anything, but you're still going beneath it. So define a plane. Now, remember, we're dealing in mind-numbing pedanticism here.
But I'm confused. It's reference to the plane.
A flat surface on which a straight line joining any 2 points on it would wholly lie. The horizontal plane.
Okay. He's not talking about he didn't say there isn't any reference to a plane. He said that if you dig down or go up, the earth has hills, and if you dig down, that doesn't have anything to do. He's not asking you how you reference it. He's saying that that's not a plane.
Okay. But in terms of our overall understanding of the surface of the ground we're standing on as a whole, are you saying that it's a reasonable argument because he's taken that overall understanding of the world, aka flat earth debate, and saying, no, the earth is only at this microscopic level of this hole I dug?
No,
Really?
it's not a reasonable argument.
No, it's
not
not
a reasonable argument. So
People
I don't
find
understand the objection. I genuinely don't. It's referenced to sea level, the flat plane. So everything's in reference to that. So something a foot above over here is a foot above over there, all reference to that flat plane.
yeah,
Just because it's got an
and
irregular topography is kind of irrelevant to
that's
whether or
I know.
not we can define it in general as a plane and reference everything to that plane if we're going to want to describe its depth or height.
Okay, let me explain it to you. As soon as
No.
you make the statement in reference to a flat plane, he wins the argument. How about that?
Why?
Because if it was just a plane, then there wouldn't be anything to reference it to. How about that? Does that
Does
that
just
get
I
you?
still
stating
don't
that,
understand his argument,
or
if I'm
in that
being
case,
honest.
does it overcome his argument if you just say, okay, we would more accurately describe it as an irregular plane?
There
No,
could
it
be
wouldn't,
problems
because like a
with that.
plane, an irregular plane isn't a thing, and also it has a thickness. So calling it a plane in any respect isn't really accurate.
Do you
Well,
agree?
what would you like? Because I mean, this seems to be conventional. You want to. So there's an objection to that. So how would you like to describe it? What's the preference? I'm still struggling. Really, seems to be a rather pedantic objection because the understanding for everybody is there, what it's describing. So if it is just that, what's the preference to describe?
It's a non-moving, non.
You
Say
cut
that
out
again?
there, Wanda.
We didn't catch that. Say that again.
I'm just saying you could just instead of saying it's a flat Earth, you could just say it's non-rotating, non-globular Earth.
Doesn't have any pizzazz.
It's also not very specific. You could be talking about a what should we call it? The inside out Earth, the concave Earth, if you use that name.
That's pretty much what it is, because when you talk about Earth, it means the ground. It doesn't mean the realm that we live in.
Are we trying to ascribe a shape here? And is that the objection, that in doing so we're claiming a shape like a ball? I'm not when I say that. I'm just talking about how I deal with the surface. I don't know where that surface goes, what its parameters are.
This is why I like the mariner's sextant, because it's on the sea, and our Earth is mostly sea, and obviously it's level. We have got mountains and valleys and dips, but on the sea, it's all water and it's all level, and that's supposedly 72% of where we live.
And there is Earth under the sea as well, the seabed.
Is this the quality you were looking for, Nathan?
Shout out to Worms.
Shout out to Worms. Is that guy back? Did he appreciate the what the heck did I bring up before? Oh, brother. Oh, the picnic bench. Did he appreciate the picnic bench example? Yes? No? Anybody? Is this working?
I think that's where he fell off. I think he fell off the bench at that point.
Oh, he's out of the server.
I don't know when he left.
Out of the voice channel altogether. This working?
If we want to be really pedantic, we could say that when you're picking that piece out of the table, you're applying a force to the table, so the table technically moves.
So the picnic table moves. Really? I'm applying a force to the table, so the table moves. That I think you go easy on the shrooms, man.
This is making me want to go heavy on the shrooms.
Nathan, is this the quality discussion you were asking about?
Yeah.
That's what I figured.
Well, that's good to know.
I still don't know what the
this is what
objection is.
happens.
I'm still unclear. So while I accept your point, QE, in terms of the way he's phrased his question, if we take it back to referencing the plane or describing traveling over a plane that we will reference to, then based on his wording, he wins. Okay, I don't really care in that regard, but I don't see the point of the objection. That's the bit I want to know.
It's not a win or a loss.
Pardon?
I'm sorry, it's not a win or a loss. His overly pedantic point is technically correct, but we know it's like hyper pedantic and it's meaningless.
But in doing so, there must be a purpose to do that. And if I was going to do that, it would be to come up with a more suitable replacement phrase that I would then justify why. That's what I'm waiting for.
Yeah, but the horizontal plane is is in the sea, not in the land. You cannot dig.
You're still not understanding my objection, Nathan? Is that what you said?
No, I understand your objection. What I don't understand is there is a certain group of people in Flat Earth that object to describing things as flat and describing the Earth as a plane. But yet, when you drill them down on what they understand the Earth to be, they'll describe it as a flat plane. So I don't really understand the objection, and this guy's objecting, so I want to know more.
You can't. He left the VC.
But you can dig. Therefore, it's not a plane.
So do sandcastles prove ball Earth?
Adam, everything proves baller. Even it not being a ball proves that it's a ball. Where have you been?
I'm going to say buried under a rock, but that would prove a point.
Being moved by worms?
Yeah.
Thanks for proving his point.
Nathan, I can't speak for everyone, but I think the reason that some people take issue with calling it a flat plane or even kind of attributing anything that resembles a shape is there's some people who are like, the Earth is what it is, and you can't measure it or quantify it. It just is.
And how would they describe that is? This is my point. What? It's fine. You can be that pedantic, and I would go to the exact meanings of words like that. Say, yeah, that's correct. You can debunk that. How are you going to describe it then? Or do you just want to go into that metaphysical, it is what it is?
But it's even wrong. What do you mean we can't measure it?
That's what I was thinking. I thought we could measure it.
Well, yeah. I mean, like visual systems alone are like a very good measuring tool. And yeah, that doesn't mean that we're going to have like a singular view of the entire Earth at some point.
Tell him again, QE. Tell him
That's
again.
the problem.
Tell him again, QE. Or don't. If you describe that measurement, Arwin, to meet the definition of a plane, because of his phraseology, it would not. You wouldn't get a perfectly flat, level line between point A and point B across the surface, or any surface of Earth. Now, can you reference it all to a 0 point? Yeah. But will you be able to draw out that line and have it perfect? No, they'll have undulations and terrain and all the rest of it. So he's right. However, it still leaves the question of why object to that convention. Is it flawed? I would say no.
Look, I didn't say that the Earth is a perfectly smooth tabletop, but the geometric orientation of the surface of it is flat. So it is a flat plane. Doesn't mean that there's not stuff on it.
In the colloquial sense, and this is where the objection for me is, you're correct, Arwen, but when QE read the definition in the totally literal and geometric sense, then you are incorrect, and he is correct if we're discussing it in the geometric sense.
Yeah, some people think it's a misnomer or something. And I don't, personally, I don't care about that because I like the reaction I get from saying flat Earth. Like, you want to tell me it's not because there's a mountain over there? Okay, that's great. Can we get back to the actual point that it's not a ball? Because that's what that is supposed to inspire, that it's not a ball.
Right,
Actually, I don't care if somebody gets triggered by it. You know what I mean?
It exposes the conditioning
No.
that we've all dealt with, right? Calling yourself
it's
a
not
flat
Earth.
earther.
It was plain. It was plain. So flat Earth actually is something used to you guys do for a while, which is GD&T flatness. Which is if you just have a surface, you can define an acceptable variation from flatness for engineering parts to be acceptable. So what you could do is you could just say it's not perfectly flat because it's impossible, but we have an acceptable variation from flat, and we say it's flat.
I disagree. It's been measured to be flat.
So I got to go into all of that.
The nautical almanac, that's what it shows. It's flat.
Well, you call it flat and not a plane, because a plane's a specific thing. Flat's never flat.
Yeah,
so.
horizontal plane, yeah. It's been measured. That's what the almanacs show to us. The elevation angles, the distances. It's been measured.
But on a
It's more
microscopic
about the
level,
orientation, right? It's about the orientation that everybody is following the same axis.
The 10th got a word in.
Sorry, I had to go for a call about fire, but I'm back. Did someone reference sea level at all?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
started
that was
it.
Adam's point, but Solar's just made the same point I made. So I was right in my terminology. You're describing things on a microscopic level, and you've expanded that out to say tolerance. Yeah, tolerance with reference to what? Well, in this aspect, we can't not then reference the aspect of Earth that's flat.
Yeah, but when he said Earth, he meant the ground. That's why the example of the worm. But it can also refer to the oceans, which is part of Earth. It's not the ground, but it's part of the realm that we call Earth, and is in movement as well. I mean, his argument it makes no sense.
Is he a baller? Or
Yeah, but see, but the problem is people like that, and I don't want to stereotype them, but from what I've heard, people that will make that type of argument would also say, well, the water is not the earth because that's water and earth is the dirt, right? So, so people would like to have this. I don't know.
But chocolate.
Yeah,
sea level is 0, and it's above sea level is Earth measured. So Earth uses sea level as the baseline.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Is this guy a baller or a flat earther? I never got that.
Well, he said it wasn't a sphere. It was definitely not a sphere. So
okay, so he wants to be in the middle.
Baller.
He wants to be in the middle by saying that the ants are moving the dirt, or the Earth is moving the ants. Because I got a bunch of ant hills on my property, and I see the ants moving the dirt. I don't see the dirt moving the ants.
I see ants walking away with a piece of bologna.
I mean, starting out with that particular argument, that it's like, really? Like, sure. Okay, so the worms move the earth, the dirt, and you call the dirt. Like, I don't even want to.
No, when someone does that, when someone does that, it shows you how desperate they are because they don't want to take a position. They want to be somewhere between flat and ball.
I just don't even want to cage that type of nonsense.
Yeah, but they also want to be unique. We got a lot of that going on lately. So they're criticizing the term flat Earth. Yeah, so they're criticizing the term flat Earth because it's not specific enough, and so they use other terms. For example, one of the recent phenomena is what we call water worlders. So they say you can't say the Earth is flat because that's not an accurate description because it's not flat everywhere. It's water. You should say water world, right? But guess what? It's not water everywhere either.
Well, that's the whole
It's
point.
just people trying to be extra special, is all.
Did somebody
What
actually
about
say
rain?
it's
Rain
water
is
worlds? Did somebody actually say that?
Hold on a second, Chocolate. Go ahead, Boymer. Go ahead.
No, I was making a stupid point, which is to assert what the water world is word, which is like, well, what about rain? It rains everywhere. Everything is water. No.
Whoever
Anyways,
said
carry
this
on.
about people.
Well, dude,
wanting
this is a
to-
problem. It's a problem that we're really suffering from now in this thing is that people, and don't get me wrong, the scientism people did this first, is they try to create a theory of everything, right? Or a unifying force or a unifying element. You know, so everything is like someone might say everything is quantum, or someone might say everything is energy, or someone might say everything is vibration, or someone might say everything is water, right? So in their view, everything must be made of the same thing in a different form or copy. And it's like, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't need a unifying singular explanation for literally everything that we know or experience. It's foolishness.
The two things I pick up from that are you saying, number one, people want to feel special. And 7 or 8 years into this subject becoming prevalent on social media, there's little for a newbie to come along and say, how do I carve out my niche in this specialist subject when it's already unique and everything's already been covered? Well, if I get hyper-specific with some of the terminology, that makes me unique. And on the one hand, I agree. It's like we encourage hyper-specificity in this show because that's what we're all about, right? But there is a line where you go, now you're just being pedantic as opposed to hyper-specific.
Yep.
Yes, there's another line as well. There's another line where the pedantry doesn't solve the problem. So now what you do is you create a new niche, which is the other. So now that you don't just agree with my idea, now you are inferior to me on a human level, perhaps even subhuman. And we have seen that happen. And I've had to ban Waterworlders from 24/7 for this very reason, where they get hostile. They start treating people like they're less than human because they don't believe in their proposition, even when their proposition isn't even that specific either.
Sounds cultish.
Yeah,
Did
it
someone
does.
bring up the fact of an elevation angle and what's necessary for it?
Yes.
What do you say to that?
He didn't answer when Georgie brought it up.
Because he was right on the microscopic level that he qualified his position with. I mean,
He wasn't here anymore though at that point as well. So it's
no,
part
that's
of it.
true. But ultimately, his point was valid. QE was quick to point that out. Now we're getting to the nitty gritty of, okay, yeah, you can be right if you seriously get pedantic about how flat is flat. Well, in the same way as you can zoom in on an incredibly flat surface like glass and go, wow, look how unflat, look at all the crevices in it on the microscopic level. It's not flat at all.
This
And
is
then
where
they
I
say,
want to
well,
get pedantic back, Nathan.
Pardon?
So this is where I'd like to get pedantic back and return it a little back. You're right. There isn't anything in the real world that would fit that geometric description because it is about geometry. Okay, his claim and his exact definition doesn't apply to anything in the real world. Can't do. So there's nothing that's flat in the world if we're going to go to his level of pedanticness. And that's what I said, there's the colloquialism, but it's not just that, it's his definition is specific to geometry because it can only apply in geometry. It can't apply in the real world at any level.
Perfect. With that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams. Hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!